Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, Heidi, we've got a really interesting topic today. We're going to talk about men and boys navigating grief, and we've got a really wonderful expert and good friend here today that's going to be doing the show with us. I'm excited.
We do, Mom, and Dr. Eric Brewer has been on our show before.
Yes.
So if you go to the Open to Hope show, you will see him. And we are so excited to have him on today because he has walked the walk and talked the talk. Dr. Eric Brewer is the founder and senior pastor of Transform Church Ministries. He is a COVID survivor and a widower. His doctoral dissertation was on healing hidden wounds, the resilience of Black men, and the impact of their spirituality upon their grief recovery. And he also lost his father, and I don't know how long ago was that, Eric?
17 years ago.
17 years ago. So we'll be talking a little bit about that and his experience. And he founded and leads a national weekly support group for Black widowers. Welcome to our show, Eric.
And don't forget, he has got this wonderful book, From Grief to Growth, a 31-day journey of healing and inspiration.
Thank you. Yes.
So you're going to want to get that book on Amazon, Eric?
Yes, Amazon, or you can go to my website at drericbrewer.com.
Fabulous.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, Eric, let's talk about this situation with men and boys in grief, because I know my partner, Frank Powers, his father died when he was 15, and I know how much he talks about how it's impacted his life.
Yes.
And as I was telling you before the show, our number one visit at Open to Hope is adult men losing dads.
Yes.
So dads are a big deal, right?
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And your father gives you identity, he teaches you a legacy, and the wisdom from a father. And especially if you have a great father and you're trying to process, how am I going to live without this wisdom sage in my life? And I think for men to accept this journey, to start this new chapter, is very challenging.
Isn't it, for adult men, I would assume it's a pretty big surprise when dad does die and they realize that it really impacts them that much because they're the breadwinner, they got their family. Do they, they're going to stop and bereave their dad?
Yes. In fact, I just think about, it'll be 18 years next week. Unfortunately, my father had a massive heart attack behind the wheel.
Oh, wow.
And hit a telephone pole.
Oh.
And so it was very challenging. I can remember when the phone call came. I just took my family to see the Christmas Spectacular in Radio City and just walked out the door. I turned my phone off, and all of a sudden, my phone, the messages came, and I was right there in Saks when I got the phone call.
Wow. Oh, my gosh.
And I can go point to this right spot. This is where I discovered where my father died.
Wow. That must have, do you remember how you felt? How did you even move on from that?
Yeah. When I first got the call, it felt unbelievable. Like this, I thought my dad's going to live forever. He was my original Superman. So from that point, when I got to my mother and I heard what happened, I had to process the loss of my dad. And being the oldest son, how do I go forward now in my life, being the support for my siblings? And it was interesting because at that time they was looking at me as, pastor, reverend, give us support, but I was the hurting son. And I didn't have anything to give even my siblings, my mother, because I was just as devastated as they were.
Yeah.
And, I read something that said that when you look at men and boys that have been incarcerated, there is a significant number that have not had fathers in their lives.
Right. Yeah, that's so the fatherhood wound is so deep because if you did not have a good relationship with your father, and if you did not know your father, that fatherhood wound is there. Then if you discover who your father was, or from a distance that person passes, okay, now that fatherhood wound, the answers is not going to be met. You try and discover who am I, and it's very challenging. So there's an anger issue. And when talking to men, it's easier for men to be angry and then to deal with their grief. So I'd just be mad at my father, be mad at the world, be mad at everybody. And what happens as a pastor, I discovered that a lot of men displace their anger for their father on another male leader in their lives. And so being a pastor, so why is this man angry at me? I didn't do anything to him. But being a spiritual father in the church. And so sometimes you have to take the good and bad with being a spiritual father or leader in the church, because there's some men that are broken, right, and they displace their anger and their pain upon you. But when you know what it is, I always say, hurting people hurt others, but whole people can heal others. So like that. In that, I try to heal men who are broken in this area by telling them, listen, I love you. I didn't cause the pain. Let's deal with this issue. Let's deal with the brokenness, because you have to face it if you're going to fix it.
Well, I would assume that I believe there are more women that go to church than there are men,
yes,
correct?
Yes,
and more women that go to support groups and peer support, that kind of thing, than there are men. So what I'm hearing from you now is, if you've had a father loss, or if your husband has lost his dad, that if he goes to church with you or whatever and is angry, don't be surprised.
Yeah. Well, it's not even about, he's not angry at the church or just at the pastor. He's still dealing with the hurt from the fatherhood wound. He's dealing with the hurt from not knowing, not having that relationship. He's missing. And it's like a hole in your soul. Who can feel the hole in the soul when your father dies? Who can feel that spot? And if you don't have a faith system in place that can help you to deal with that type of hurt or fatherhood wound, then it will continue, it will fester. And if you're not careful, it will be like a cancer in your soul, and it grows and it eats at you.
Now, what would you suggest if I'm hearing you and I realize I have this anger? How do I find somebody to listen? I mean, where do I start?
Well, first of all, you have to recognize there's something's not right. Something's not right within me.
And it can be years, too, by the way, not just...
And sometimes, unfortunately, a person can be angry for years and decades even. And so just not one day, all of a sudden, this light switch turns off, but it takes a process of first facing and starting with the person in the mirror. And you can't blame, you got to take responsibility for your own emotions. You have to take responsibility for your own personhood and why am I in this situation? I see a trail of broken relationships. I see that I'm not close with my children, with my son, because there's a generational trauma that's being passed down from one generation to the next generation. We don't want to talk about transgenerational trauma. And the reality is, in a lot of communities, there's a lot of pain, and has been passed down from one generation to the next generation to the next generation. My father was a very stern man, a military man. And so he wasn't a kissy, lovey-dovey type of guy. He shook our hands like this and shook our hands. And I think I did not kiss my father on the cheek, or we really hug, embrace that passion of father-son until I graduated Princeton from seminary. Even when I graduated high school, when I graduated college, no hugs, did well done, son, pat on the head, type of thing, maybe put his arm around his shoulder. But when I graduated from seminary with my master's, he put his arms around me and he loved me and said, you make me proud. Because see, I'm walking, he said, you're walking in your destiny and your purpose. And I remember he said this to me. He said, I felt I was called to preach, but I never said yes to God. And he said I could have been a senator, a businessman, entrepreneur, but the one thing I felt called to do was be a pastor, a minister, and I didn't say yes. But I see that God stepped over me and went to you.
Oh my gosh.
And you said yes.
Were you totally blown away when he said that?
Oh my gosh.
Powerful.
I was blown away.
That's incredible. Do you have any idea, was it just that you became that role that had his change of heart, do you think? Or did he have something happen to him? Or
I just think that with me walking in my divine assignment and answering yes, because I went to school to be an electrical engineer. I was a double major in math, electrical engineering with a minor in physics. And so my third year, I came to my parents and said, I've sensed a call to ministry. I want to change my major to religion. My parents looked at me, and I remember my mother and father both said, do all what's in your heart.
Wow.
Go for it.
wow.
And I'm thinking they were going to be mad. Like, I'm changing my major in my junior year. And because I had all these science, and I was able to just take on religion and graduate with a 3.8 average. And I had their blessing.
Isn't that amazing?
I love it. I love that you had their blessing.
Right.
And that they said, go for it and, pursue your purpose and meaning in life.
Right, right. And what's interesting is I had fellow friends and classmates. They were like, oh, you're going to be broke. You want to go in ministry. You're electrical engineering. You have your life in front of you. You could do that on the side. And I said, no, I'm just going all in, all 100. I'm changing my major.
Well, I know that you've worked with black men and run groups and things like that. Do you see any difference between... I know there are a lot of people in the black community who don't have dads.
Yes, yes.
And what's your thought about all that and how?
Unfortunately, statistic is 80% of families are single, one-parent household, of mostly women. And so I see a lot of young boys, a lot of men who did not grow up with their father. Some may know their father, but did not have them in the home. And there's a difference. The men who had a father versus ones who did not. There's certain things that a father instills in their sons, a good father, let me qualify that, such as discipline. I could speak about my father. There were certain things, like we had a curfew. There's certain things we saw how he treated my father treated my mother. There's certain, just the way we presented ourselves. Like we could not have sagging pants. We could not have tattoos or anything that was, he was a military guy.
Yeah.
Our shoes had to be shined. The beds made every day, nothing on the floor, trash taken out every day, no trash overnight taken out. So that discipline that was instilled. And my brother and I, of course, both college graduates, never been in jail, never had issues with the law, successful in life, homeowners, because we had a father that mirrored, that taught us, and that created this reality. So we talk about the men who did not have that. So they had to either learn from their mother or a surrogate father.
Or their grandmother. I notice a lot of them have
grandmothers.
Well, and the issue isn't for all boys out there is they're surrounded by women.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's so important to have male role models. They go to school and it's mainly women teaching them.
Right.
Their babysitters are usually women. Their caretakers are women. I mean,
and even in the school system, the teachers are women.
Yes.
Because I think in 8th grade I saw my first African-American male teacher in 8th grade.
That's amazing that you were in 8th grade. You were that old.
Right, I remember. Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
My partner, Frank, when his dad died at 15, suddenly, who took him in? The YMCA.
Wow.
And there was a leader at the YMCA that had him, he was lifting weights with him, doing things with him, and started having him help the other boys, and worked, they paid him, worked at the desk, worked at summer camp. They actually, took him into that organization.
Wow.
So I think finding those male support people around.
Yes.
If you are grieving, trying to find another male that can help you out.
And I think mothers who are single mothers should try to find a surrogate father, an uncle, a male figure, a positive male figure. I hear a lot of mothers that's like, I'm mother and father. And on Father's Day, they say, I'm mother and father. I said, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're holding it down. We applaud you.
Yeah.
But you need a man, and that's not trying to be chauvinistic.
Right.
There's a lot of strong women, but when that boy grows up to be a young man, and he needs someone, a father or a male figure, to teach him how to be a man. There's 5 stages when they talk about with manhood, and then with men. So you talk about malehood, boyhood, manhood, fatherhood, and legacyhood.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
nice.
And so when you talk about grief, a boy processes grief different than a man. And I thought about my loss. When my grandmother died, I didn't see my father cry even at my grandparents' funeral. And so I thought that was the way you grieve. You keep it inside, you be strong. And that was not a healthy way to process grief. And so in dealing with men and dealing with widowers, a lot of men have not given themselves permission to grieve.
Because they haven't seen it as a role model.
They have not seen it. And so it's like that with grief in life, other things in life. Where does that young boy see how to deal with their emotions?
And like you said, oftentimes what they see is anger, which really is, for some are grieving, but they show it through anger, so they don't understand that that's
right.
How to grieve in an adaptive, way, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, it's easier to be angry than to grieve, which is to deal with it, because anger is a natural emotion. So when you don't understand, I'm angry at the world, I'm angry that I did not know him, or if there's a fatherhood wound, I had certain expectations that were not met. There was birthday parties, anniversaries, holidays that were missed, and so that unresolved anger is there. And so when that young boy loses that father, where does that anger, where is it placed? And a lot of times it's swallowed and is internalized, and it eats at the soul of that young boy, and he grows up a wounded boy. And so even though he's a man, but he's still that wounded boy who was left on the porch waiting for daddy to come and never came. And so we have to deal with that. We have to deal with the hurt.
And how do you do it?
Well, we first recognize, give that person permission to feel the pain, and say, you give yourself permission to grieve, to look at this pain and say, I am hurting. And can they say that? I am hurting. I miss my dad. I wanted a relationship with my dad. And when you can deal with that, we can deal with that hurt, then we can start to move forward. But first, we have to recognize that you're hurting.
Do you think, do I start with a professional person, or what? How do I proceed?
Whoever the person trusts, because you do a professional therapist, but if the person don't trust the therapist, even if a clergy person, if the person, the man, the boy does not trust that person, and it can open up. Sometimes it takes months, even weeks, years to develop a relationship where a person can be open to be able to share.
And different people are different. I mean, for some people it takes years.
Right.
One of my daughters, my youngest daughter, it took years for her to begin to deal with her brother's death. I think it all depends on how old you were when it happens, too.
Absolutely.
You know, she was 14, and I think sometimes people get stuck in that growing up time where they can't.
Or they just shelf it for a while.
Right, they shelf it.
And then they revisit it. It comes out in other ways, and they're like, okay, I've got to deal with this.
I got to deal with it. And the reality is, a lot of folks don't know how to process it and don't have the language to express how they feel. So today we have different language to talk about things before, like trauma, that word trauma. Or disenfranchised grief. We have the language to talk about emotions that before we didn't have the language to talk about, to deal with.
And there are different processes also, different kinds of therapy that you can try with trauma.
Right.
Well, I'm wondering if you have a situation where a boy or a young man loses a dad, and maybe there's unfinished business. What do you do now?
So we have to look at the needs of this young, because every child has different love languages. Let's go to Gary Chapman's love language. So based upon that child's love language, some might need affirmation. Some may mean time, service. Let's look at the child. What are the needs of that child? And then once we discover the needs, if it's time, affirmation, then let's meet them and fill their emotional tank. If they need time, if they need touch, and we ain't talking about crazy, this encouraging, even a hug.
Yeah.
It's amazing how so many children, their love language is not being met. Mm-hmm. You can give gifts, but if they need time, your child, I know parents, mothers who gave their child every sneaker, every latest sneaker from Air Jordans to LeBrons or whatever, but sneakers cannot satisfy that hole. Mm-hmm. Gifts, clothes, it is that time. It is asking, how was your day? Mm-hmm. What did you learn in school? What do you want to do in life? Who do you want to become? Who is your role model? Asking questions. Mm-hmm. And once you start to discover what's important to that boy, then you can go forward and build relationship. And I believe target. Unfortunately, a lot of young boys are not targeted for greatness.
Oh, I like that. Tell us more about what that means.
So the latest sensation, you see Deion Sanders' son, Shakur Sanders. He's a quarterback in the NFL. Mm-hmm. His father was a Hall of Fame football player. He targeted his son to one day be in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Tiger Woods' son. Now, these are phenoms, I understand. But even my father targeted me to go to college.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He targeted me I did play sports, but we had to play a sport. We had to play an instrument. We had to stay on the honor roll. Mm-hmm. So I learned how to play the piano.
And he also basically was telling you, I know that you can do it.
Right, absolutely. He's giving me my identity.
Yeah.
We had to learn a foreign language. I learned French, bonjour. So we had to learn a language. So my parents were targeting us for greatness and success in life.
Right.
But if you don't have that, who does that?
Well, that's it.
And what if I'm mad about it right now? I'm listening to this and I'm thinking my dad didn't target me to do anything.
Right.
We were talking earlier about if you do go for help or you do have families go for help, you need to make sure that you're getting help from somebody who knows something about grief and loss, right?
Absolutely. And so there's two questions here. You ask, what do you do now? You're an adult man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, I was not targeted.
Right.
There's a book by a psychologist, Tamar Bryant. Mm-hmm. It's called Homecoming. Mm-hmm. And in one of her chapters, she said, there's a chapter entitled Reparenting.
Yes.
And sometimes as an adult, you may have to reparent yourself. Mm-hmm. But how do you do that? Okay, there was things I missed in my childhood. There was emotions. There was things that were not developed. You may have to look back, take a step back and say, how do I need to reparent myself? Mm-hmm. Bottom line, how can I deal with the hurt so I can become whole? Wholeness is the goal. Mm-hmm. So how do you become whole when there's areas in your life that are broken? So first, like I said, you got to face it to fix it. Then you got to challenge yourself. You got to confront it. You got to confront the challenges, and you have to change. You have to change. And change, I like the word actually transform. Our church transformed church, because if you change, you can change back. But when you transform, you can't change back. So when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, transforms to a butterfly, it can't turn back to a caterpillar.
Right.
So you have to transform your life. Mm-hmm. And you transform your life by transforming the way you think. Okay. And once you transform the way you think, you can transform your environment, transform your life, and then you can transform the world.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I like that. Well, I think sometimes we focus on the negatives, and sometimes I think with men, they do have to try to find some positive in their father that passed away, because he gave them their genes, their life,
Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to be transparent. I did not know my biological father. Mm-hmm. John Brewer is not my biological father. Mm-hmm. My mother, my biological dad, I never met. And I know his name. My father adopted me when he married my mother when I was 3 or 4. So I always knew myself as Eric Brewer. When I signed up for football, I saw that I was born Eric Kroom. And my father's name on my birth certificate was not John Brewer.
Oh, my goodness.
And so for years, when I discovered, I was a young man, and I didn't feel any kind of way toward John Brewer. But I felt some kind of way toward my biological father that he never reached out. I don't know him. And so many years ago, when the Oprah Winfrey Network started, they had a show they was going to do with successful children who never met their biological parents. And they went to look for my biological dad.
Wow.
And they never found him.
Oh, my goodness.
And I had to deal with that, and it could have passed, I don't know. And to answer your question, I just thank God that I was born in the earth. I don't know my medical records. I don't know anything about his lineage, but I'm not mad at him. I had to release him and be grateful for John Brewer, because maybe this man could not target me like John Brewer targeted me.
I like this.
And so what could be looked as a negative thing actually becomes a positive thing. And so you're out there and you're upset and you're looking at your family tree, your history, and you said, I don't know my biological father or your parents. That's okay. Be grateful for the surrogates God sent into your life to target life, to transform your life, because you would not be who you are today, maybe if that person were in your life.
Oh, Eric, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And on that note, it's time to end our show, and I want to thank you so much for being on, and make sure you get Eric's book, From Grief to Growth. Eric is a fabulous guy, and thank you so much.
No
it's so
problem.
wonderful seeing you.
No problem.
Thank you, Eric. I just want to say that as a mom that's adopted her daughter,
Yes.
our children come to us in many ways, and I always say she was born from my heart.
Absolutely.
And yes, I love what you've said about your parents.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and thank you for building awareness of From Grief to Growth.
That's right. You can grow from your pain.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for being on this show. And Heidi, I want to thank everybody for watching this show today and listening to it. And we want to always remind you that if you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own, and God bless.